Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Scott Selections here on Tuesday, May 7th. I know this video is coming out relatively, or I'd say it's coming out late on, Monday night or Tuesday morning. But either or, since I finally finished all my exams for college, I have a lot more time. I still have a paper to do, but I'll do that tomorrow. So I had some free time to give out a video. And I also have another tennis play today, which I like, and that will be starting in a couple of hours. So I thought I might as well give that out now, but I will also post it once again on my Twitter for those people who are unable to watch this video in time of the match. We didn't have a play of the day yesterday in main sports. However, I did have some Twitter plays on tennis, and we actually were profitable in that one. We ended up going 1-1, but the one that we did win was a plus 175 price, and the one that we lost was a minus 110. So we ended up losing on Munar money line at minus 110, who ended up losing to Kakanov in 3 sets. However, we did end up cashing the Tiafoe and Basilashvili over 2.5 sets, as that ended up going 3 sets before Tiafoe was able to pull out the victory. But I got another tennis play for you today, and I'll actually be starting. The tennis play today is actually going to be, we're going to stick with ATP tennis in the Madrid tournament, and we'll actually be looking at Gilles Simon as he takes on Hugo Dellien. And we actually like the dog +3 here and Hugo Dellien +3. And the main reason for this, Simon overall is still a ranked player, has been ranked for a couple of years now, but I just don't trust his current form. If you've looked at him in recent matches, I know that he's French and people know that he's good on clay usually. However, he was in good form in Monte Carlo when he ended up beating Papirin in the first round, or Papirin, or however you say it. But he ended up suffering a back injury in the second round of that tournament and wasn't even able to play against Fabio Fognini as he withdrew. Then he ended up trying to come back in Barcelona and got absolutely demolished by Mackenzie McDonald. I know that McDonald's an American, and most Americans aren't really good on clay. McDonald is actually a decent clay court player for an American. But with the current bag issues that he's had and the fact that he got demolished by McDonald, I don't think he should be worthy of being a 3-game favorite in this match. And I think that there is value on Dellien, who is coming into this match having needed to qualify for the Madrid Masters. So he's already used to the court itself. And he had an impressive win there in the qualifying against Leonardo Myers. He won in straight sets. And Guido Andriozzi, who is also a very solid clay court player. Both these players aren't great servers by any means, and I expect this game to turn into a serious grind of rallying. But I think Dellien has a serious shot of pulling off this upset, let alone covering the 3, which is available at minus 110 on Pinnacle. So the play will actually be on the Dellien spread, but if you wanted to get a little bit more bold for some extra profit, Hugo Dellien money line, I think, does possess a lot of value. And the main reason also, even though Simon was never a great server to begin with, his last match after the back injury that he suffered, he only won 47% of his first serve points, 43% of his second serve points, and he was broken 5 times. Overall, he just didn't look like his usual self. For a player like Simon to have a back injury, that's even harder for a player like him, who lacks the offensive firepower to put points away quickly. He's going to like to rally. Dellien's going to like to rally. If you don't know who Hugo Dellien is, he's a relative youngster who is 25 years old, but he's been fantastic in the Challenger series in the last year or so on clay. And I think that Simon is a little bit overvalued here based on the fact that he's coming off of some injury concerns. So for me, I will be leaning to Hugo Dellien +3, which is available at Pinnacle minus 110. Or if you even want the money line, it is available on BetOnline at plus 157 for Hugo Dellien, but that will be the selection we have in tennis. Now to move on to the play of the day, even though we've been having a slump in that recently, I still see some value on the current card, and I feel like I should share that with you. So we will be looking at a baseball line, and we like a total between the Cincinnati Reds and the Oakland Athletics, which is currently available at 8.5, minus 110 on Heritage. We like the over here. Just a quick tip. If you do decide to back me on this play, I would recommend taking this sooner rather than later, as a lot of money has come pouring in on the over, and I would not be surprised to see this total close at 9 by first pitch, which is roughly at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Overall, both pitchers aren't great, and the Reds lineup is currently cooking. Oakland's been terrible the last couple weeks, and they have definitely fallen into the basement of the AL West. But it doesn't change the fact that they play in a hitter-friendly park. Their lineup is still good, and their bullpen has been a little bit spotty, especially with Trinan being injured, and he's yet to come back yet. Cincinnati will be using Tyler Mahle, or Mile, or however you want to pronounce it, who's 0-4 with a 4.09 ERA. He was decent in his last start against the Mets, but the Mets, as people have known in the last week, have completely lost all production from their offense, and the Mets were, I believe, shut out again tonight against the Padres. So take his last performance with a grain of salt. Plus, he's going to be on the road, and he now has to face a DH since he's a National League pitcher who's now going to be facing an American League team. But he's still 0-4 with a 4.09 ERA, so you have to be a little bit concerned in how he will perform in the Coliseum at Oakland. And Oakland will be using Mike Fiers, who's 2-3 with a 6.51 ERA. He has been terrible all season long, and even his last start, he went 5 innings, gave up 3 runs. He hasn't been great at all, especially at home. And in his last couple of home starts against Texas, he gave up 6 runs. Against Boston, he pitched well, but Seattle, he didn't do well. 3 innings, 5 runs. He just has been very streaky, and he's had issues forcing enough strikeouts, which was kind of his signature thing in previous years. But overall, the Reds have come into this game swinging. Right after they barely got any production against the Mets at Citi Field, they ended up having a 4-game series against the Giants. And although they ended up chopping those 4 games, in each of those games they scored at least 5 runs. And in 3 of those games they scored at least 9 runs. As the scores in that series were 12-11, 9-2, 6-5, and 12-4. I know that those were at home, and Cincinnati tends to play better at home, but I simply think that the team's offense is in a pretty solid form after their series against the Giants, and I think that they will be able to generate some runs off of Mike Fiers, who has been extremely inconsistent so far this season, and I expect him to continue struggling. Meanwhile, Mahle is an okay pitcher at best, but Oakland, even though they're currently on a pretty bad run in the sense of wins and losses, their games have still yielded a decent amount of runs because of their inability to find quality production out of the bullpen. And I still like this lineup with Chris Davis being able to hit home runs at any time. Simeon's batting .295. They still have a lot of solid pieces on this actual lineup, and it would not surprise me to see both these teams score at least 4 runs. So I will be looking to the over 8.5, which is available at -110 at Heritage. And if you want to take that play, I'd recommend betting it now, because of the fact that I expect this line to move up to 9 by first pitch, as money has already started pouring in on the over, yet Heritage has been a little bit lackadaisical when it comes to adjusting the line, so it is still -110 at the time of recording, which is roughly 1:45 a.m. So just a quick recap of the 2 plays that we have. In tennis, we're going to be looking at Hugo Dellien +3, which is available at -110 at Pinnacle, as he takes on Gil Simon in tennis. And we'll also be looking at the Oakland Athletics and Cincinnati Reds over 8.5, which is available at -110 at Heritage. Now, I will give out some leans that I have for the games tomorrow. The leans did not do well at all yesterday, but it's a new day, so we'll see what happens there. We'll start off with hockey here. You have one Game 7. There will be another Game 7 on Wednesday between the Colorado Avalanche and the San Jose Sharks, which went final right before the airing of this show. But the first Game 7, you have the St. Louis Blues versus the Dallas Stars. St. Louis opened up at -140 down to -130, pretty much market wide, and the total is still at 5. I did think the Blues would win Game 6 because I thought the series would be going 7, and I originally thought that the Blues would win Game 7. But honestly, I'm kind of reevaluating that. Something about St. Louis historically, they've been known to choke a lot. And a Game 7 at home looks like a prime opportunity for them to choke away a game to the Stars. The series, it's been pretty much impossible to predict because home ice has really meant nothing, and both of the goalies have been extremely streaky. Bishop has had a little bit of some injury concerns. Bennington's been pretty good overall, but he has been getting knocked up or roughed up a little bit in some games. Not to mention the fact that the Blues' power play has still been atrocious in this series, and I would expect them to continue struggling. And I still think that Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn are still a very solid duo that could produce points at any time. In terms of this game, I would lean to the over 5 here. Since it's an elimination game for both teams, if it's a 1-goal game with 2.5 minutes left, 2 minutes left, they're pulling the goalies. You'll get a lot of goals late. So I do like the third period over in that game, and I also would lean to the full game over. But I'm actually going to lean to the Stars here as a road underdog in Game 7. Am I really confident in this? Not really, because I think this game's a toss-up. But I think at roughly plus 118, I think that this game's relative pick'em. And if you can get an underdog or any side in a game between two even teams and get them at roughly plus 120, I think there's a lot of value there. So I will lean to the Stars in that one. Now, moving on to the NBA. There are two games on tomorrow, but first game is between the Toronto Raptors and the Philadelphia 76ers. Toronto started out at -6. They're up to 6.5 in Pinnacle, but bet on the line, but is mostly 6 throughout. And the total has stayed steadily at 211.5. That game will be tipping off at 8 p.m. Eastern time. In terms of that game, I will lean to Philly plus the points here, and I will also lean to the under. Siakam, as I thought, even though he was projected to play, he did not look good at all. And Toronto kept the game close like I anticipated, but I didn't think Toronto would have the firepower to withstand a 76ers run in the third and fourth quarter, but they did. And Kawhi Leonard has continued to impress, and he has continued to help Toronto fans forget all about DeMar DeRozan and his lack of postseason results. I think Toronto will win this game, but I think 6.5 is too many points here. Joel Embiid was awful in the team's last game. And with Siakam not 100%, and with Lowry being inconsistent in the playoffs, besides Kawhi, I really don't know where the Raptors will be getting most of their production offensively. So for that reason, I think that Philly will keep this close. I think Philly will cover the spread, but I would lean to the under, and I will lean to Philly plus 6.5 in this game. And the late game is between the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers. Spread is currently 4.5, hasn't moved, and the total has gone from 212.5 to 213, and even 213.5 in some spots. In this game, I will lean to the over, and I will lean to the Denver Nuggets. I'll lean to the over because I think both teams have figured out each other's defenses. I expect some adjustments to be made, but overall, I think Jokic will continue to perform well. I expect Lillard to play well. McCollum has definitely come up huge in recent games, despite Portland's inability to end up winning Game 4. So I will be siding with Denver as well. I think the change in altitude will do Denver some good, and I still think Jokic is the best player on the court, and I think that Denver should be able to get the job done, and I like the over. I think this game will be very close throughout, but it would not surprise me to see Denver cover the spread on some late game free throws. But that's going to do it for this installment of Scott Selections here on Tuesday, May 7th, and good luck to all of you and your respective bets.